back to World Crisis Radio. So if you want to know who Julian Assange is, for a lot of people it will be enough to know that he rejects totally 9/11 truth. He doesn't like it. He says, those people annoy me. So Assange is essentially an enemy of 9/11 truth. And what he's really saying is that the only scandals, the only conspiracies that are allowed, that can be brought into the polite discussion of these geeks and dehumanized characters of his own ilk, are the conspiracies that he approves, that have been vetted by his crew of international hackers and related characters. Now, we look at WikiLeaks. We see an organization quite evidently in the orbit of the Open Society Institute, generally of the Soros body of opinion in the world. The question I would have to Assange is, who pays you? We're told that you live the life of a nomad, that you go across the world living out of a backpack. You show up in airports all over the place. Who pays for this, Julian Assange? Who funds you? Where's the money coming from? Watergate, listen, follow the money. I want to know who pays Assange. It's a very elementary question. How do you get money to buy these expensive tickets? Now, if we look at the board of this foundation, the WikiLeaks board of directors, who do we find? Ben Laurie, former top security official of Google. Well, we know that Google comes out of a project funded by In-Q-Tel, the proprietary, launched into the world by the CIA, to keep the U.S. intelligence community at the cutting edge of information technology. We also know that Google, in the meantime, has now practically merged with the National Security Agency. The ties were always close, quite evidently. The sabotage and censorship was always there. Again, 9/11 truth, the best way to gauge this. There's a real scandal where real journalism would have been needed. Assange is not interested. He's hostile. He's a ferocious enemy of 9/11 truth who's parading himself as an enemy of the establishment, and we're supposed to believe that his life is in danger. Assange can give open press conferences in London, and nothing happens to him. Nobody lays a glove on him. It's also clear if the U.S., if the Pentagon wanted to destroy Assange's websites, they could do this within an hour, given the hacking techniques that they have on their side. They don't do it. There's not even a legal attempt. There's no legal action to try to stop this. There's just nothing done. So Ben Laurie is one. We look at this guy, Wang Dan. The rest of the board is largely Chinese. As a matter of fact, when this thing first came on the scene, it was largely thought to be something targeting China. In other words, it was going to put out revelations that would be embarrassing to the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party leadership. Wang Dan is a Project Democracy operative, National Endowment for Democracy. We've also got Xiao Chang. Xiao Chang is the International Committee for Tibet. In other words, he's a big fan of the Dalai Lama, that darling of rich elitists and mystics and intelligence spooks across the Western world. Xiao Chang operates at UC Berkeley. He seems to be part of Radio Free Asia, which is linked to Soros. We've also got this guy on the board, Kham Sit Sang, who is a Tibetan democracy activist. Well, we know what this all amounts to. It's a gaggle of so-called democracy activists, all in the orbit of the U.S. intelligence community, and especially of the Soros wing thereof. And they operate under left cover. This is the indispensable thing. They have to have this Rousseauvian overtone that they're anti-authoritarian and they're fighting big government, I guess you can say. What this is, we must go back to Cass Sunstein, the current czar for information regulation. Imagine that, information regulation in the Obama White House. Sunstein said a while ago that you've got to suppress conspiracy theorists and 9/11 truth activists on the Internet, and the way you've got to do this is indirectly by cognitive disruption and cognitive countermeasures. Now, that's not going to be a cigar-chomping right-wing character saying that 9/11 truth is for traitors, it's going to be something like this. It's going to be something that pushes the 9/11 agenda and any other things to the side and puts in the center the things that the CIA and the intelligence community want to be there, which again is why the Afghan war is hopeless and why we've now got to turn our attention to Iran. The general lift and shift is coherent with the idea that I've put forward, which is if you're going to start attacking Iran, you better cut your presence in Afghanistan because you're going to have to, because otherwise the forces that you've got there are going to become hostages. The Iranians will send in their special forces and their guerrillas, and they will essentially encircle and annihilate the forces that you have in these isolated mountain outposts in Afghanistan. And given the logistics and the terrain, there's not a whole lot you can do, well, maybe short of nuclear weapons. But even those in Afghanistan are not going to be very remunerative. So the line of WikiLeaks is that whatever happens has to be done with transparency. Well, we're interested in transparency in regard to WikiLeaks. I guess that's the line that we have here, and indeed everything else. Let's look a little bit at Assange as a person. Notice this strange emotional complex that he seems to have. Again, bloodless, emotionless, frozen in many ways. What's his background? Well, according to the New York Times, Wikipedia, others, he lived the life of a nomad even before he became a computer hacker in the 1990s. He grew up with parents who were part of a touring theater company. Sounds a little bit like Molière, but always moving around, attending 37 schools during the time that he was growing up. And in particular, his mother, Assange's mother, had a second husband who was some kind of a dangerous brute. And we're told in Wikipedia that Assange grew up on the run from the father of his half-brother, who was a member of the Anne Hamilton Byrne cult of Melbourne, Australia. What was the Anne Hamilton Byrne cult? Well, again, according to the Wikipedia article on that, the Anne Hamilton Byrne cult, it was a cult which used LSD and a whole array of psychopharmaca on little children. In other words, systematic child abuse through psychopharmaceutical means. Children were administered LSD and other psychopharmaca. They were then left alone in a dark room. I think the emotional complexion that you see with Assange might be coherent with somebody who got LSD at an early age and was left alone in a dark room. Who knows? He should speak up on this issue if he wants to be transparent. Let's have some transparency if that's the goal in life, right? I think the goals are actually, there are other goals that might be more important than transparency. But in his case, he says it, so you want to live by it. He is a picaresque agent in that sense, constantly moving through the landscape. My question to him again, who pays you? He is the co-author, the researcher of something called Underground Tales of Hacking, that is Obsession and Madness. Now, interestingly, you can get that on the internet. I don't recommend it. I've started to look at it. It's called Underground Tales of Hacking, Obsession, and Madness. 400 to 500 page book, published in Australia in 1997, translated interestingly into Russian and into Chinese. But you can read it in the original English. In this, he appears in the guise of a character called Mendax. Mendax, just a Latin word meaning a liar. So his self-image is that of a liar. Interesting, if true. A couple of more things about Assange in a minute. We're going to probably get our constitutional defense report here in the next segment, and we'll be back with World Crisis Radio.